Welcome to our unit on Smartboards and Smart Learning Suite. Let's learn a little bit more about Smartboards before we get started. There are several types of Smartboards you might find in the classroom. The most common type is a resistive touch-based interactive whiteboard. A touch-based interactive whiteboard involves a simple pointy device. In this case, the material of the board is important. In the most common resistive systems, there's a thick plastic membrane that's stretched over the surface and deforms under pressure to make contact with a conducting backplate. The touch point location can then be determined electronically and registers as a mouse event. For example, when a finger is pressed on the plastic surface, it is registered as the equivalent of a left mouse click. Again, such a board requires no special instruments. When you pick up one of the marker is just a piece of plastic. There is no electronics. There are no electronics in the marker. And it's just a piece of plastic, and it knows when you pick up a red pen, because you pick it up from the red tray, it says the red tray is empty. Therefore, whatever is touched on the whiteboard must be color red. If you put the red pen back down and pick up the blue pen, the blue tray is empty. Thus, it says anything that is on the board is a blue mark. Same thing happens with the eraser. You pick up the eraser from the eraser tray and it knows it's an eraser because the eraser tray is empty. These are older whiteboards that you will find in the classrooms. Newer whiteboards operate by an infrared scan, an IR touch. An infrared interactive whiteboard is a large interactive display that connects just like the touch-based whiteboard with a computer and a projector. The infrared whiteboard is typically mounted to a wall or to a floor stand, just like the touch-based whiteboards are. However, movement using the user's finger, a pen, or another pointer over the image projected on the whiteboard is captured by the interface using infrared light at the surface of the whiteboard. When the whiteboard surface is pressed, software triangulates the location of the finger marker or the stylus. Infrared whiteboards may be made of any material. No dry erase markers or no pieces of plastic are involved, and they may be found in many settings, including classrooms, corporate boardrooms, training, and activity events. To know which kind your whiteboard is, if you press on the whiteboard and it moves to your touch, if it presses in, if it depresses to the touch of your finger, chances are it's a touch-based interactive whiteboard. If you touch the whiteboard and nothing depresses, it's probably an infrared board. Okay, let's look at a picture of what one of these whiteboards might look like. So here we see this is a whiteboard. This isn't a really old whiteboard. The older whiteboards can only have one student at a time on the whiteboard. The newer whiteboards, interactive whiteboards, can have multiple students and has multiple points of touch like the one that you see here. Let's look down here at the tray. You see that there is, down at the tray at the bottom, there is an eraser, and you'll see different trays here. We can see a red tray, and this student has, the student with the red and white shirt has the red marker in her hand, and then you see a blue marker over here with one of the boys with a blue marker. So because this board is multi-sensory, it can allow different students to be writing at the same time. One of the most important things to know about your Smartboard is that most of them need to be oriented. Orienting your Smartboard is very simple once you give it a try. On the older boards, you need to depress both the keyboard button and the right mouse click button at the same time, hold for a second, and then let those two buttons up at the same time. Then on your screen, you will see different crosshairs. If you take your finger or one of the whiteboard pens and touch right in the center of each of those crosshairs, that will orient your Smartboard, and it will say this touch belongs here on the Smartboard. And do that with each of the areas when prompted, and that is orienting your Smartboard. Many times if you have a projector that's mounted to the ceiling, the orientation gets off as the building naturally moves. Even if it moves just centimeters to one side, that makes the orientation of your whiteboard not equal to where you are pressing with a pen or with a finger. Other whiteboards may have a button that says Orient. You click on that single button and then you will receive the same prompt. Okay, let's look at our activities for this unit. When you're done watching this presentation, I would like you to look at some of the resources that are already created for you that have smart notebooks and smart activities. One of these resources is called the Smart Notebook Exchange. Let's go ahead and go there. On the Smart Exchange, this is where many can share a resource. You can actually share a resource that you create by clicking here and uploading that resource. Many teachers have spent a lot of time creating different resources and they want to share them with you. You can sort resources by grade. And you can sort resources by subject level. Let's go ahead and let's look at resources for first and second grade and do a search. So over here on the right-hand side, you'll see what grade levels this might be appropriate for. Keep in mind that most of these are editable. So if you have one that you like, many of them you can edit, maybe change words, change the vocabulary. You might even be able to change pictures. So keep that in mind as you're looking at these resources. So this one is for pre-K to first grade, mostly English Language Arts or ESL. And this is called Cookie Crunch Sight Word. So if I want to look at this more, I'll just click right on the top of it. And I can look at the different screens here. But here on the Cookie Crunch, it would take a student to either touch the cookie and say the sight word. Sometimes I have seen that teachers in the classroom might use one of those push balls, and students can lightly throw the push ball at the screen to show a sight word underneath the cookie. Some of them, like these, you can't actually tell what the sight words are until you download the resource. So to download the resource, just click on the download button and it will download that notebook resource right here for you to upload in the Smart Learning Suite, or if you have downloaded the Smart Notebook onto a computer, you can open it up there as well. All right, let's click on back here. And you'll see that there's hundreds of different resources for all kinds of different things. Keep in mind with the different grade levels here. And also keep in mind that you can search for specific terms. So for instance, if I am teaching money, I can search for that specific term there. Some of the resources will have different standards on the page that actually are aligned to different standards. So keep that in mind. All right, so this is a resource of interactive pages that are already created. For our activity in this unit, you are going to create two different activities. You're going to create an activity and then an assessment along with your technology integration worksheet. Okay, so in this unit, make sure that you take the chapter quiz 4. We will be taking your highest score of the 2 attempts that you have. Make sure that you are reading the chapter before you take those quizzes. That will really help you in your forming knowledge as you take those quizzes. You'll need to sign up for a 45-day free trial of the Smart Learning Suite. I'll show you how to do that in just a minute. You're going to use the Technology Activity Worksheet and pick out standards for your dream classroom. Write at least 2 measurable and observable objectives. Then create an activity and an assessment using the Smart Learning, Smart Online Suite, and then place those links on your technology activity worksheet. All right, so there's just a big overview of this technology that is on your buffet for this unit. Keep in mind for this class, just like if you go to a Las Vegas buffet, there are many items to choose from. Some may be new to you. I'd like you to try to keep an open mind, and when you approach a new technology, give it a try. See how it works. Find out if it's something that you would go back to often, or think about how you might use it in your classroom. Or if you're assigned to something other than your dream classroom, you will have that tool in your teacher's toolkit. The first thing that you'll need to do is sign up for that 45-day free trial. So we'll go ahead and click there. And we're going to sign up for the Online Learning Suite right here. Fill out that form and make sure that you keep track of the username and password that you have signed up for. After you have signed up for that 45-day free trial, we'll go to the login page. The location is suite.smarttech.com, and that will get you here. So you have already signed up. Let's go ahead and sign in. You'll see that it already recognizes me because I was in practicing. All right, there are 2 activities that you will do in the Online Smart Learning Suite. If you click on the plus sign, this page allows you to import things that you may have found on this Smart Exchange and downloaded. This is not part of this assignment, but it's important for you to know how to use that Smart Exchange resource, and you can import things here. For the purpose of this unit, you're going to create 1 activity and create 1 assessment. Let's start with an activity. These are different formats for our activities that you can quickly create. There's fill in the blank activities where you can drag words or pictures to fill in empty blanks. It's great for composition and memory. There is a game show activity where you can have two children at one computer, or you can split a classroom in half, or have two students on one side of the game and two students on the other side of the game. Very usable for whole group instruction, for students to practice in groups of two or in small groups. The matching activity is great for all different subjects or age groups. It's a one-to-one correspondence. So keep in mind that you can't have two things that are the same. For instance, if I had 2 plus 2 and 3 plus 1, it has to be a one-to-one correspondence. So I could only have one of those. So I could only have 3 plus 1 because both of the answers would be 4. Now, on this monster quiz, these have devices required, so let's stay away from those unless you have smart devices in your dream classroom. Flashcards are fun. This is a one-to-one correspondence. Again, could be a game of memory and practicing vocabulary. Label reveal is great. Put a picture up and teaches connections with words and images. Memory match is a great favorite for pre-K, kindergarten, and first grade. Helps them recognize names for different objects and also keeping memory spatially of where things might be. Rank order is super fun. You can use it for comparison. You can sequence items. You can put things in an arrangement of what comes first, what comes second, what comes third. This is a favorite of all age groups. You can arrange for pre-K. What do you do to get ready in the morning? For middle school and high school, you can arrange sequencing of different orders. Here's another one with devices required. And here is a super sort where students sort things into 2 different categories. This is another one where you can use for all different age groups. Pre-K, you can sort what are healthy foods, what are unhealthy foods. High school geometry can sort, say, different angles. You have acute angles here and obtuse angles here. Okay, let's go ahead and try the game show. You select what type of questions that you want. For the purpose of our unit's activity, you need at least 5 different questions or 5 different vocabulary words, that kind of thing, for different types of activities that you are choosing. All right, so we'll choose a, let's choose a true and false question. And let's say making this for 2nd grade, and I'll say, which plant part brings water from the ground to the leaves? Oh, for that one, I will need multiple choice. So I can say the root system, the stem, which is the correct answer, so I'm going to click here to show that this is the correct answer. The flower, and then I will add another question. The leaves of a plant are important to photosynthesis. mark that as true, then add another question. All right, so you'll need at least 5 questions, whatever type of questions you would like, and then click on Next. And here are your questions, so you can look at the questions, make sure to check them correctly. Here I'm going to delete this question because this question is blank, so I'm going to click on that, delete, and yes, delete that. Keep in mind that you'll need 5. This is just an example for you. All right, so let's click on Finish there. And preview what the game might look like for our students. Some jazzy music. You'll see if students are working at a center that you could have 2 students on this side and 2 students on this side of the game. You can have your class split in half. And then let's spin by just clicking on the wheel. It says click the power up to find out what you got. And then it'll spin again. And one of our questions comes up. The leaves of a plant are important to photosynthesis. Let me show you what it looks like when students are wrong. I'll click there and it says that's incorrect, and then it reduces the points by half, but it gives the other team a chance to try. And this is really a simple one because there's only one other answer. That's true. And we'll continue. All right, we'll spin the wheel again. We have 2 times, so the next question is worth more points, 2 times the points. Let's spin again. So you see there's an element of chance that students really like. Which plant part brings water from the ground to the leaves? That's the stem. Notice because we had the 2 times points that this one actually is worth 200 points instead of 100 points. All right, so that gives you a quick preview. Make sure that you preview your games and activities to make sure they are functioning the way that you thought that they would. So this team had 250 points, this team had 0 points. You can review the questions and go up and down to review all of your questions there. All right, let's go ahead and close out. I'm going to click on this X up here in the corner to close out of there. And then if you want to edit and change some of your wording or what it might look like, you can continue and edit there. So I didn't make any changes, so I don't need to worry about that. Make sure that you put some kind of title on your game show. So this will be Plant Parts. Plant Parts Game Show. Okay, I'll click on Finish Editing here on the left-hand corner, and that's the game show that I created today. To share that, come right over here where there are the 3 dots, and you will get a share link. You'll need to copy the Get Student Access link, and this will go on your technology integration worksheet. So that's one of the 2 activities that you'll do here in the Smart Learning Suite. The next activity you'll need to create is an assessment. These are used often in the classroom as a formative assessment. So you're forming knowledge as the students play and practice in this environment. You can have multiple choice questions, true and false, multiple answer, opinion poll, and short answer. Let's go ahead and we'll do a demonstration with the multiple choice. Let's imagine you can enter a question, you can put an image here, you can also have words or images here in your answer categories. Let's stick with the theme of our plant part, so I'll go to Google here and I'll say plant stem images. And go right to my Images tab. Find something that looks like a good stem. This one's good. I'm going to right-click and Save Image As. I like to rename. You'll see that I have already saved some. I like to rename instead of download doesn't mean anything. So next time that I go to look for this image, the one that came with the image download wouldn't mean anything at all. So I already have one called stem, so I'll call this stem 2 so that it's different than the one that I have there. All right, let's go back to our Learning Suite. And once you have that downloaded here, there's a couple of things that you can do. An easy thing is if you are in Chrome, or I haven't tried this in Firefox yet, but I imagine it's similar, that this is already here and I can drag it and just drop it right there in my activity. Let's see. This is a picture of a, I will say, I'm not going to put root system because that might be confusing. That could be part of a root system. So I'm going to put flower, leaf, stem. Going to be a little bit more clear here. And I'll choose the correct answer by clicking there. You could also put images there, so keep that in mind. So there's my first question. You need at least 5 questions in your set. Let's add another question. So now I'll add another question there. Choose the picture of a plant leaf. So this time I'm going to search for plant leaf images. So I can save any of these. If I have that saved here, I can drag and drop it, but I also want to show you that if you already have an image saved, just go to where that image is saved. Let's go here to our EDU 214 folder. And I'll put that image there. These are images that I have already uploaded. Okay, that goes pretty fast there. And then make sure that you want to mark your correct answer. Okay, that gives you a good idea of what to do there. Make sure that you put a title and maybe some instructions. Plant part review, might call it there. Answer the following questions. If you do not know the answer, use your science reader as a resource. So in instructions, if you have students that are be working at a center by themselves and you know that you might be busy elsewhere in the classroom, give them, if they don't know the answer, where do they go for help before they need to come and disrupt you if you're maybe at a reading center with a couple of kids. Keep that in mind as a good practice for the classroom. Then I'll click on Finish. Okay, let's go here. Plant part review. And I will say Finish editing. So here is my activity. This one is my assessment. I will click on the dots, get a share link, copy again the student access link. Let's look and see what this looks like here. I will paste that in a browser. This is how it would look like for students. And we'll start. So imagine you are in a classroom and you have your Chromebooks. Students might have different devices. Students can work one-on-one on the computer in the back of the room. They can work in small groups. You can also do this as a whole group if you have computers for each of the students in your group. So they would go to hellosmart.com and put in this join code. So let's go ahead and do this. Whoop, what's that? Put that back in there. All right. So students on their computers would go to hellosmart.com and type in this join code 667086. And they will type in their name. Let's be Bob today. Oh, there's an error. And then they would just be able to play that game. Okay. Let's go back to our classroom. Internet must be really slow today, causing us some problems. So you'll have those two links. And here is an example. Make sure that you have your standard or standards that you have chosen. Include both the standard number and the standard description. Write two measurable and observable objectives. Make sure not to use words understand, know, comprehend, grasp, learn. Those are ones that we cannot measure. Refer to that helpful 100 handout for measurable and observable verbs. All right, then you're going to write how are you going to use those two activities that you just created, and then make sure to include the activities links. Here in your module is a link to the technology activity worksheet where you use this format to put in your standards, your objectives, the activities description, how you plan to use those 2 activities in the classroom, and then include the 2 links there and submit this page. Thank you for really creating lovely, wonderful, creative work. I can tell this class is just fantastic, and I really enjoy going in and grading your work because I find just wonderful, thoughtful assignments. Thanks, and have a great rest of your week.